The second year of marriage, Su Qing hired a male assistant, and the two took a high-profile impromptu trip abroad together. When I walked in on them, they were kissing passionately at Su Qing's birthday party, acting completely unfazed. Su Qing just smiled lazily when she saw me. It's just a fling. Relax, it won't affect what we have. I let out a few cold chuckles, not making a big scene out of it. Right. She just wanted to have fun. Well, two can play at that game. She assumed I was just throwing a fit. Until the Su group suffered one setback after another, and teetered on the brink of bankruptcy. Defying the heavy rain, Su Qing banged furiously on the door of my house. I opened the door, a beautiful woman standing right behind me. Relax. It's just a bit of fun. I like them young and pretty too. Bai Qinja practically radiated hostility as she curled up in my arms. You're out of the game, old lady. Su Qing, I will never forgive you, and you will never get the chance to earn my forgiveness. The birthday party was in full swing. All of Su Qing's best friends were there. They were all egging her on. Kiss him, Qing. Consider it your birthday present. The college boy seemed out of place in the crowd. He wanted to put on a show, but was afraid his sugar mommy would disapprove. Su Qing showed no trace of shyness at all. She pulled his head toward her openly and kissed him hard, full of passion. I leaned against the door frame with a cigarette between my lips, watching them, completely unmoved. Su Qing's friends spotted me, and the room fell into a fluster. Mr. Liu. In an instant, the lively atmosphere went dead quiet. They hadn't expected me to show up. This whole thing was supposed to be kept from me. I walked towards Su Qing. The college boy looked nervous and stood up. He was probably already bracing himself for a beating. Su Qing showed not a shred of shame at being caught red-handed by her husband. She smirked and draped an arm over the boy's shoulder, her tone light and flippant. It's my birthday. I'm just hanging out with my friends. What are you doing here? This is Song Yanli. He's going to be my new assistant. You two should meet. Relax, it's just a bit of fun. Don't make such a big deal out of it. The Su family and the Liu family had been family friends for generations, both old money clans from Jing City. We'd grown up together, more or less. When I was 7, her family moved away to develop their business in Zhangcheng. From what I'd heard, they'd done quite well for themselves there. After we graduated college, for reasons I never fully understood, our families suddenly arranged a marriage between us. And so we were married as naturally as could be. Before the wedding, I'd had someone look into her. She was wild, had made tabloid headlines more than once. I wasn't happy about it, but her grandfather begged me, promised he'd make her settle down. That was how I found out the Su family planned to expand into overseas markets, a goal our family shared. Our two clans were evenly matched in power, yet neither fully trusted the other. It should have been a mutually beneficial arrangement. A shame I was the one who had to be sacrificed for it. Both families took the partnership seriously, and a marriage was the only way left to strengthen the bond. And so the two non-heirs of our families were wed. After we married, Su Qing did behave herself for a while. I suppose now that the overseas expansion was going well, her restless side was itching to break free again. Truth be told, the Liu family had been prepared for this. In all our dealings with the Su family, we'd claimed every benefit we were owed. The Su family had been wary too, of course. They'd never let us get a stake in their company. I smiled faintly and took a small box from my assistant. Those matching couples watches you ordered? Give them to your little assistant. A welcome gift for his new job. Su Qing didn't take the box. She just looked at me with a mocking glint in her eye. Luzi, we're not children. This is an arranged marriage. Stop with these silly little games. You don't get to control what I do. Don't think I'm scared of you just because you pulled out this watch. I didn't miss the flicker of panic in her eyes. I laughed coldly to myself. All bravado and no bite. If she was so tough she could stand her ground. Su Qing, from today on we each do our own thing. And don't you dare come crying to me when you regret it. Su Qing's face fell at once. But pride had always been her weakness. She would never back down. Luzi, don't be so childish. Her best friend, seeing things were about to spiral, quickly stepped in to smooth things over. Mr. Liu, don't be mad. We were the ones egging her on. King's just had too much to drink, that's all. She only loves you, I scoffed. I'd seen everything with my own eyes. What more was there to say? That trip abroad looked nice. Real sweet. You weren't drunk then, were you? With that I turned and left calmly. King, go after him. Su King's face was dark with anger. She said nothing. After a long while she spoke slowly. Why would I chase after him? This is an arranged marriage. Lucy doesn't call all the shots. Her friends still looked uneasy. The Lu family never let anyone walk all over them, and the second young master of the Lu family was never one to be pushed around. Kinky, just swallow your pride and apologize. Your grandfather would never let you act like this. The Lu family is not to be messed with. Su Qing stared toward the door, strange emotions swirling in her beautiful eyes. Song Yanlei suddenly tugged at her sleeve. Sister Qinghe, is this watch really for me? After leaving the party, I called my older brother Lu Yuanchao and invited him out for drinks at a bar. By the time he arrived, there were already several empty bottles on my table. He'd never approved of this marriage either. He could guess what had happened. Fighting with Su Qinghe again? Is it about that college boy? Great. Even my brother, who was buried in work all day, knew about it. Just how reckless had Su Qinghe been? Yeah. I told him everything that had happened that night. My brother's face darkened when he finished. This was nothing less than a slap in the face to the entire Lu family. Do whatever you want. I've got your back. My brother was 5 years older than me. He'd already taken over the family business and had always looked out for me. He'd been against the arranged marriage from the start. But neither of us had had a say in the matter. I was so frustrated I downed a few more drinks. I'm going to the bathroom. When I came back, there was a woman sitting in the seat next to mine. She sat with her head bowed, quiet and out of place amid the bar's loud, chaotic atmosphere. Maybe that was why I found myself staring. Sensing my gaze, she looked up at me. Bai Qinya? What was she doing here? I waved and smiled faintly. Fancy seeing you here, President B. She lowered her head again, trying to avoid my eyes. I'm sorry, President Lu, I didn't mean to intrude. The alcohol had already clouded my judgment. I pulled her into my arms in one motion. Ah! She gasped in surprise. Let's talk. Those words had their usual effect. Bai Qinja went still. Aren't you married to Miss Su? Aren't you afraid she'll get jealous? I said nothing, just looked at her. I had a feeling she knew a lot more than just that. Bai Qinya relaxed in my hold and whispered something in my ear, her tone unreadable. I know that college boy. He's been making quite a spectacle of himself lately. Looks like someone's given young Master Lu a very green hat. I picked up my cigarette, and Bai Qinya, ever perceptive, lit it for me. I exhaled a slow plume of smoke and gave her a half smile. Bai Qinya, come home with me tonight. Our eyes met. We were both adults. The meaning was clear. Bai Qinya smiled softly and said nothing. It suddenly occurred to me that this woman was famous for keeping men at arm's length. She was an orphan, beautiful, brilliant, had worked her way through college on her own. We'd been classmates in university. After graduation, she'd started her own business. Over the years, countless men had tried to keep her as a trophy mistress. She'd never given any of them the time of day. She'd never even had a boyfriend as far as anyone knew. I'd been attracted to her once too. But before I could act on it, I'd gotten married. I'm kidding. Don't force yourself if you don't want to. To my surprise, she said yes before I could finish. The second we stepped inside the villa, I threw her onto the bed. I kissed her wildly, hungrily. Lucy, slow down. Let me take a shower first. I frowned but didn't stop. Quit talking. Be careful I make you regret saying that. I'll wash you up after we're done. All night long. I made good on my promise, making sure she knew exactly what happened when you provoked me. Exhausted, I finally fell asleep as the sky began to lighten. I'd barely drifted off when my phone rang. Bai Qinja watched me roll over, showing no intention of answering. She chuckled quietly, then dragged her tired body over and picked up my phone. It was a video call. The caller ID read Su Qinghe. She nudged me awake and held out the phone, her expression dark. I stroked her pretty face and tucked the covers around her. Beautiful things were only meant for a lucky few. I pressed answer, forcing my tired eyes open. When Suchinchi saw the woman beside me, she let out a small, amused laugh. Looks like we're even now, Lucy. This is better, isn't it? I told you so. And stop throwing tantrums. Don't let this affect the partnership between our two families. Just try not to get anyone pregnant, all right? I couldn't be bothered to argue with her. We'd each do our own thing, that much was true. But the Su family better watch out. I had a big surprise planned for them. Suchinge really was shameless saying things like that out loud. In wealthy circles, keeping a lover or two was nothing out of the ordinary. But there were rules. You didn't flaunt it out in the open, and you only did it with someone of equal standing. The Su family clearly didn't have enough clout to play that game. Especially not when our two families were still in the honeymoon phase of their partnership. Blind, arrogant fool. Fine. I said we'd each do our own thing. Don't bother me from now on. Sensing my irritation, Bai Qinya leaned in sweetly and kissed my cheek, trying to calm me down. Mrs. Liu, is there anything else? If not, please don't show up at my house unannounced ever again. I couldn't be bothered to talk to that wretched woman any longer. I hung up the video call directly. Humiliated, Su Qing's face twisted with anger, and she was still surrounded by all her gossiping best friends. King Luzi actually hung up on you. Do you think he's really mad this time? No way, right? He's got another woman too, doesn't he? Exactly. A divorce wouldn't do the Liu family any good either. It's probably just a tactic to scare you. You're so beautiful, I bet Luzi can't bear to let you go. Definitely. If a divorce messes up the partnership, old Master Liu would never let him get away with it. Those best friends of hers really knew exactly what to say to cheer her up. Sure enough, her mood lightened noticeably. That phone call chased away every last trace of drowsiness I'd been feeling. I lit a cigarette and sat up, scowling. Bai Qingja stayed as relaxed as ever, lounging lazily against the headboard. Su Qingge doesn't deserve you. She's always been restless. She was just better at hiding it before. I looked up at her, amused, and said nothing. I waited for her to go on. Since she'd thrown herself at me, we might as well talk business. Last night had been something of a welcome gift. Bai Qinya straightened her clothes calmly, sat down across from me, and looked me straight in the eye. Let's talk. I poured her a glass of red wine, quickly sorting through everything I knew about her in my head. What do you want to discuss, President B? And save your breath about divorce. I have no plans to get divorced right now. Bai Qinya gave me a wounded, reproachful glance. Luzi, you really are heartless. That was my first time, and you're ready to pretend it never happened the second you get dressed. Before I could reply, her expression shifted. We can set that aside for now. I need an investment. 100 million yuan. I'll pay it back with full interest in 1 year. For the year, I'm your collateral. You know what I mean. If you don't trust me, you can send your own people to work inside my company. By now I was fully awake. Your company doesn't seem to need funding. What do you need that much money for? What's your real goal? For a moment, Bai Qingye looked completely earnest, just like the Bai Qingye I remembered. I want to marry into the Liu family. She held up a hand to stop me from speaking. I know I'm not good enough right now. 1 year. I just need 1 year. I'm not here to take advantage. In a year, I'll pay back every cent with interest. By then, my net worth will be enough to qualify. What you can't do openly, I'll do for you. I know the Liu family can't move against the Su family because of the partnership. I'll do it. I guarantee the Liu family won't suffer any losses. By the time I'm done, the Su family might not even exist anymore. For this 1 year, we work closely together. Think about it. You've got nothing to lose. This woman really was confident. The Su family was no easy target. To her, they were a colossus. But she was right. I really had nothing to lose, did I? The corner of my mouth twitched. I thought for a few seconds, then held out my right hand. Pleasure doing business with you, my little canary. And with that, we went right back to our close cooperation. An hour later, the flush still hadn't faded from Bai Qingye's cheeks. I ran my fingers lightly over her ivory white back. Let's go. Go where? Bai Qingye asked, confused. I let out a dry laugh. To Liu Group. To sign the contract. With capital injection from the Liu Group, and support from a professional team. Bai Qingya began making waves in the capital market. To be honest, when my brother signed the contract, he'd given me that knowing, amused look for a long time. Then he'd asked to speak to Bai Qingya alone. When they came out of the office, my brother waved a hand and lent her Lu Group's top investment team. He framed it as supervising cash flow to ensure capital security. I had no interest in what they'd discussed. I trusted my brother unconditionally. As for Bai Qingya, I trusted her selectively. At the very least, whatever her end goal, we shared the same objective right now. Still, Bai Qingya acted more like a proper wife than my actual wife ever did. No matter how busy she was, she always came home at night. Sometimes she'd even cook for me herself. Her cooking was actually really good. One weekend, we were getting ready to go see a movie. Since we'd been intimate, we might as well try to build some kind of relationship. Out of nowhere, my phone started blowing up with message after message. Good day, Mr. Liu. The custom sports car Miss Su ordered for you has arrived. Please let us know when you'd like it delivered. Good day, Mr. Liu. The custom watch Miss Su ordered for you is ready. When would you be available to view it? Good day, Mr. Liu. Miss Su has made a reservation at Starry Restaurant for 7 o'clock tonight. The confirmation has been sent to your phone. I found it all rather pathetic. A sports car, a watch, a restaurant. Was Su Qingge still living in a dream? Or had that college boy sucked all the sense out of her? It was probably because Bai Qingya had been moving so aggressively lately that the Su group was starting to crumble. These past few months, Bai Qingya and my brother had worked together flawlessly. My brother would dig the traps, the Su family would walk right into them, and Bai Qingya would seal them off. In just 3 months, the Su family had lost several 100 million yuan for no apparent reason. And the best part? They couldn't pin any of it on the Liu family. Of course, they suspected it. They knew the Liu family was pulling the strings behind the scenes. But suspicion wasn't proof you could bring to the table. The Su family was in the wrong here, plain and simple. Bai Qingya had real skill. No wonder she'd built her company from the ground up all on her own. I'd asked her once why she wanted to marry into the Liu family. She'd been blunt about it. My company's hit a ceiling. Getting past this point isn't just about personal ability anymore. Besides, I don't want my kids to grow up the way I did. Marrying into a wealthy family is the best option. I know a lot of rich heirs. You're the best fit. Don't tell me you've never been attracted to me. I touched my nose, feeling a little awkward. But no matter how much I pressed her, she wouldn't say why I was the best fit. I had a feeling she thought I was soft, too soft to ever sacrifice her as a pawn. This woman really had low standards for what she wanted out of marriage. Just then my phone rang again. It was Su Qinghe. I'd been planning to ignore it, but Bai Qingya insisted I answer. What do you want? On the other end, Su Qing's voice was uncharacteristically soft. As, why did you change all the door codes? And when I went to see you, they wouldn't let me in. I let out a cold laugh. Scared now? Or had her grandfather chewed her out? Su Qinghe, you're not welcome at my villa. Don't bother coming back ever again. To my sharp words, Su Qingge didn't get angry. She was in no position to be angry anymore. The losses from the past few months had sent the Su family's finances into a tailspin. Desperate, the Su group had tried to beg the Liu group for help, offering concessions in return. My brother had turned them down flat. Old Master Su had lost all face by now. He'd promised his granddaughter would behave herself, and she'd turned around and slapped the Liu family in the face. The Su family knew perfectly. Well, Bai Qingya would never have dared make a move without the Liu family's approval. So they'd handed the peacemaking job to Su Qinghe. At least whatever happened, she'd be the one losing face. I know you're mad about Song Yanli. I'll be more careful from now on. I swear it'll never happen again. Okay? I'll cut him off completely if that's what you want. Stop being stubborn. Our families have been friends for generations. We grew up together. Don't let this tear us apart. We've been married a year. Grandpa Liu has been wanting a grandchild. Let's make up. I'm ready. I was speechless. Was this woman out of her mind? The Liu family was one of the most prominent clans in Jing City. Did they really think we'd keep a woman with no self-respect? Or that we'd want a child that would probably need a paternity test? If you're sick, go see a vet. A regular hospital won't fix what's wrong with you. I couldn't see her face, but I could picture it perfectly. It must have been quite the sight. Aze, I know you're angry. Let's talk about this properly. Tell me what you want. Just stop being petty. I know Baikinga's attacks on the Sioux group have your backing. Call her off, please. There it was. Finally, she'd said what she really wanted. I laughed, a cold, mocking sound. Where had the Sioux family been earlier? They'd known perfectly well she was humiliating the Liu family, and they'd let her get away with it. Don't tell me they didn't know. They just thought once the partnership was sealed, the Liu family's support didn't matter that much anymore. They thought we'd never dare turn on them. And it was true. The Liu family wouldn't risk losing over 1 billion yuan just to start a feud. But there was always another way, wasn't there? Bai Qingye was that other way. She'd pulled it off. Now the Sioux family was finally learning the gap between our two clans. It was too late. Su Qinghe, just looking at you makes me sick. Don't ever call me again. I don't know anything about the Sioux family's problems, and I don't care to. Su Qinghe was so furious she couldn't speak for a long time. Finally she ground out through clenched teeth. Lu Zi, do you really think the Sioux family is some kind of doormat? If you're going to be this ungrateful, then fine. We'll see who comes out on top. What a lunatic. The Sioux family was a doormat, as far as I was concerned. If it weren't for the partnership, my brother and I would have moved against them long ago. She dared to threaten me? Nothing but empty words from a useless waste of space. If the Sioux family dared to pull out of the partnership now, the Liu family would happily let them. Bai Qingye could more than make up for any losses. For them, clinging on by their fingernails was probably the only way to stay afloat a little longer. Bai Qingye smiled and handed me a bottle of water. Calm down. I shook my head. I'm not mad. I just think it's funny. That's some tough attitude for someone begging for help. In the months that followed, Bai Qingye moved even more aggressively. On Bai Qingye's birthday, I threw a private party and invited a lot of friends from our social circle. Now that she was my most important business partner, it was time for her to appear at these kinds of events. Over these 6 months, the Liu family had grown very pleased with her. They already saw her as their future daughter-in-law. She was exceptional. Slowly I was starting to accept the idea too. If things kept going like this, marrying her wouldn't be so bad. It would do a lot for my standing in the Liu family too. Still, none of this could be brought out into the open just yet. It wasn't long before the conversation at the party inevitably turned to Su Qinghe. Young Master Liu, that Su Qinghe has completely lost her mind. She's been going around telling everyone how madly in love you two are, making up all kinds of details. It's been the talk of the whole social circle. If we didn't all know the truth, we might have actually fallen for her act. You're just gonna let her get away with it? I pulled Bai Qingye close with a smile, my tone completely dismissive. She's just a clown. Not worth our time. My childhood friends were all stunned, especially when they saw the easy chemistry between Bai Qingye and me. After all, she was beautiful, capable, a rising star in her own right, with no powerful family backing her. She was quite the catch for marriage. Her reputation as a cool, untouchable woman had been established for years. None of them could believe she'd ever gotten involved with someone like me. But there she was, in my arms, not pushing me away, smiling softly instead. They had no choice but to believe it. You're something else, young Master Liu. How'd you win her over? Su Qinghe is nothing compared to Miss Bai. She's just dead weight leeching off her family. It was a minor detour. Before long, the party was back in full swing. Those guys made me drink more than my fair share. I shook my head and excused myself with an apologetic smile. Keep drinking without me. I'm heading to the bathroom. I'd barely stepped out of the private room when I ran into one of Su Qing's best friends. Her face lit up the second she saw me. She hurried over, all eagerness. Brother Liu. You're here. King's in the private room over there. I waved her off, keeping her from getting too close. A married man had to be careful about his reputation. I won't be joining you. Have fun. Her friend wouldn't give up though. She kept trying to persuade me. Kinga knows she messed up. Just give her another chance. Stuff like this is no big deal. It happens all the time in our circle. Just think of it as her having a little fling, that's all. She followed me all the way to the bathroom, waiting outside while I went in. She just wouldn't take no for an answer. On the way back, I had to walk past Sue King's private room. I'd had no intention of going in, but her friend practically dragged me inside. All familiar faces. Besides Sue King's friends, Song Yanli was there too. Looks like she really was fond of this little assistant of hers. Su Qinghua was lounging lazily on the sofa, her shirt slightly askew, a faint look of satisfaction on her face. Song Yanli looked comfortable and affectionate, a far cry from the nervous, awkward boy he'd been half a year ago. Things must be going well between them. King-A, I ran into Brother Lu earlier. He came all this way to see you when he heard you were here. Her friend took one look at the scene inside and knew exactly what had just been going on. She called out quickly, trying to brush it all under the rug. Aze, you came. I knew you still cared about me. I'll let the bikini things slide. Let's make up. Su Qingge looked flustered when I walked in. Pleased as she was deep down, she was terrified I'd figured out what she'd just been up to. I held up a hand to stop her from coming closer. Su Qingge, don't you dare throw my kindness back in your face. You seem to be doing just fine for yourself. A pretty boy like that to keep you company. Sounds like a good time. Don't bother me ever again. With that, I nodded pointedly at her unbuttoned shirt. Her friends all started to panic. They'd tried calling Su Qingge earlier, but she'd been too busy to answer. She hadn't seen their messages either. As you've got the wrong idea. Yanli's about to graduate, he begged me to help him find a job. There's nothing between us anymore. You're the only one I want now. All of them can back me up on this. Su Qingge rambled anxiously, reaching for my arm. Her friends all hurried in to back her up. Yeah, exactly. There's nothing between them anymore. He just wanted to thank us today. Brother Lu, she's really changed. Just forgive her this once. The marriage between the Su and Lu families is such a good thing. Don't let this tear you apart. It's not worth it. I met Su King's hopeful gaze and smiled. I reached out, and just when she thought I was going to cup her cheek, I tapped a finger lightly against her neck. Care to explain what this is? Confused, she quickly pulled out a compact mirror. All the color drained from her face in an instant. It was a hickey, left from their wild night together. I grabbed her by the jaw, forcing her to look me in the eye. Don't you dare tell me a mosquito did that, Su Qinghe. You're absolutely repulsive. I mean it, stay out of my life. If you flaunt him in front of me one more time, I won't hesitate to destroy the Su family. If you behave, I might even put in a good word for you, get Bai Qingye to go easy on you. Keep pushing, and you'll suffer the consequences. With that, I turned and walked out. The sound of things smashing behind me was none of my concern. Not long after, Song Yanli officially joined the Su group. He became Su King's personal assistant. With Su Qingge spoiling him, his ambitions slowly began to grow. Maybe in his empty little head he thought everyone in wealthy circles was an idiot, easy for him to manipulate. Or that they were all mindless, driven only by base instincts. He never stopped to think about how the game was actually played. Instead, he started posting constantly on Moments and Weibo, flaunting his life with Su Qingge for everyone to see. Posts about how his CEO's sister had ordered a sports car, been rejected, and given it to him instead. Posts about how she'd thrown away a custom watch in a rage, and how sad it made him. Posts about how bad he felt when his CEO's sister was in a bad mood. Su Qingge had a hand in it too, of course. I knew exactly what she was doing. Vague, suggestive rumors were catnip for tabloids. Once the gossip had spread far enough to protect both families' reputations, the Lu group and the Su group would issue a joint statement denying everything. And on the surface, their marriage would be right back where it started. Any remaining rift could be smoothed over with trade deals and benefits. My assistant compiled all the posts and stood before me, his face dark with anger. If it was just him showing off, no one would care. And even if someone did, it would be the Su family's job to handle it. It wasn't anyone else's face on the line after all. But this kid had a death wish. His posts kept taking subtle jabs at me. It didn't take long for people to dig up who his CEO sister really was. And just like that, Su Qingge got what she wanted. The internet was buzzing with all kinds of rumors. but at the very least, it had dragged me right into the middle of the storm. President Liu, should we issue a statement to clear things up? I shook my head. It wasn't that I didn't want to, it just wouldn't work. Besides, I had no intention of falling right into Su Qing's trap. She had her tricks and I had my countermoves. She was smart. Everything she'd put out there was easy to explain away. And there was no doubt Su Qing, maybe even the entire Su family, was behind it. This time, I was going to throw a curveball she'd never see coming. Look into this Song Yanli. If he wants to be their pawn, let him trip and fall, break him completely, and inject another 100 million into the buy group. Tell them they can turn up the heat even more. My assistant nodded in understanding. Yes, President Liu. I'll handle it right away. As he turned to leave, he hesitated and asked, President Liu, should we report this to the old chairman? I waved a hand, telling him not to worry. Grandfather's already given his silent approval. All he cares about is partnerships and profit. If he'd had a problem with it, he would have stopped us by now. Go on. My assistant worked fast. Song Yanli was nothing but a pretty face. He'd failed countless classes in college. Su Qingge had had to throw huge sums of money at the school just to get him to barely pass. Conveniently, he still had half a year left before graduation. The Liu Group's legal department sent a formal lawyer's letter straight to his university. The reasons? Tarnishing the school's reputation, being kept as a lover, moral misconduct, exam cheating, buying credits, the list went on and on. Everything they could dig up, they put in that letter. Originally, the university had planned to sweep the scandal under the rug. It was a smart move, drag it out for 6 months, and it would no longer be the school's problem. That way they wouldn't offend either the Liu Group or the Su Group. Like I'd ever let them get away with that. Song Yanli liked showing off online, didn't he? Fine. I'd give him exactly what he wanted. In just 1 week, Song Yanli's Weibo was completely flooded with hate. His love story with Su Qingge turned into a running joke spreading everywhere. And there was photographic proof for every last bit of it. The university had no choice but to expel him as quickly as possible. Sister Kinchi, you have to help me. Everyone's tearing me apart online. The school expelled me. You told me to do all this? Song Yanli looked utterly defeated, kneeling in front of Su Qingge, too scared to even breathe loud. He'd thought doing what Su Qing said would make him rich. Instead, he'd completely ruined his future. Not only had he lost his diploma, he was being eviscerated online. Even his parents had found out. They'd almost disowned him. Su Qingge didn't answer him. She just waved a hand and told him to get out. She had far bigger problems of her own right now. Bai Qingge was ramping up her attacks faster and faster, and the Su Group was stretched paper thin. The Su family was swallowing their pride and begging for help everywhere they could. But no one dared cross the Liu family, and the Su family had nothing left worth anyone's while. Empty promises weren't worth the paper they were written on. Still no word from the Liu side. Her assistant answered carefully, yes. They won't even meet with our people. President Su, using Song Yanli to provoke Liu Zed. It seems to have backfired, I think. Maybe you should go beg Liu Zi again. If this keeps up, the Su Group won't last much longer. Su Qing said nothing, her head bowed, lost in thought. Word of all this reached me soon enough. They were just working stiffs, trying to provide for their families. More and more people at the Su Group were scrambling to pledge their loyalty to the Liu Group. Suffice it to say, any decision the Su Group makes will land on my desk within half an hour. I get multiple copies from different sources, more than enough to verify the truth. Beg him? I'd love to, but he won't even see me. Okay? Su Qingge swept all the documents off her desk in a fit of rage. That evening, Bai Qinya was in a good mood and cooked dinner herself. As, looks like our 1-year agreement might wrap up early. Bai Qinya looked at me with a half smirk. I knew exactly what she was thinking. She'd been coming over more and more often lately. She'd already climbed higher than me in the household pecking order. It was kind of ridiculous. Is that so? How about a shotgun wedding? Well, when a woman sets her mind to something, there's not much a man can do. All you can do is go along for the ride. After dinner, I barely remembered how we'd ended up in the bedroom. Maybe it was the red wine, but her cheeks looked especially enticing. Outside, rain poured down in sheets. Inside, the air was thick and warm. Annoyingly, my phone kept ringing non-stop. It had been buzzing since before we'd even started, persistent as anything. Even when we were finished, it was still going. Baichinya picked it up lazily. It's Suchin. Want me to answer? I stroked her hair fondly. Don't bother. Just seeing her name annoys me. She grinned like a little fox. Then how about I answer it? When I nodded, excitement flickered in her eyes. The excitement of staking her claim, plain and simple. The second she picked up, Su King's pitiful voice came through the line. I know I was wrong. Please, can we just talk? Baichinya let out a cold little laugh. Miss Su, please stop harassing A's. He's busy. There was silence on the other end. After a few seconds, Su Qing spoke again, her voice meek and submissive. President Bai, please just let me say a few words to Lu Zed. Sorry, he's already asleep. He can't take your call. Su Qingge must have guessed I was right there because she started yelling. A's, I know you're there. I'm right outside your door. Please just talk to me. I was exhausted. I had no energy to argue with her about any of this. Su Qingge, we have nothing to talk about. With that, I hung up straight away. Baichinya nodded, pleased. A's, that's exactly why I like you. Su Qingge really has gone too far, still messing around with Song Yanli after all this. But, are you really going to crush the Su family completely? I didn't say a word. I just pulled her close and picked up where we'd left off. Actions spoke louder than words, made my stance perfectly clear. There always seemed to be something ruining the mood. We'd barely finished when there was a knock at the bedroom door. The nanny spoke from outside. Young master, Miss Su has been standing out front this whole time. She won't leave no matter what we say. I snapped irritably, ignore her. But then Su Qingge started yelling at the top of her lungs, loud enough to keep the whole neighborhood up. She clearly wasn't going anywhere until I opened the door. Fed up with the noise, I wrenched the door open, scowling. Su Qingge looked utterly wretched. Gone was the proud young lady of the Su family. She was soaked through to the bone from the rain. The second she saw me open the door, she dropped to her knees with a heavy thud. Lu Zi, I know I was wrong. Our families have been friends for generations. Please, spare the Su family. I'm terrible, I'm a horrible person, it's all my fault. Name your price. I'll agree to anything, just don't destroy my family. I looked her over with amusement, leaning lazily against the doorframe, a half smirk on my face. Miss Su, if you have a problem with the Bai group, go beg Baichinya. What's begging me going
to do?
Besides, aren't you worried your little assistant will be upset that you're here? Su Qingge just stayed on her knees, begging and pleading. She didn't care about my mockery at all. Baichinya came downstairs already dressed. She was furious at the sight. She kicked Su Qingge away hard. Miss Su, don't you dare touch A's with your filthy hands. And for the record, you're out of the game, old lady. Rage burned in Su Qing's eyes when she saw Baichinya. You set all of this up. Baichinya had zero patience for her. She shot right back. If you want the Su group to go bankrupt, just say the word. I'll be happy. Tio oblige. Then she slammed the door shut with a loud bang. She looked up at me with big, soft eyes. A's, you will marry me, won't you? I leaned down and kissed her. Of course I will. Now that things had settled down, it was time to deal with Song Yanli. After getting expelled from school, he'd been kicked out of the Su group by a furious Su Qinghe. She'd paid him off handsomely to keep him from causing trouble, of course. Too bad the guy never learned his lesson. He'd been running his mouth online non-stop lately, slandering me left and right, claiming he wanted justice. Lately I'd been busy working with Baichinya on company matters. Baichinya was sharp. She knew perfectly well the Bai group could never stand fully independent of the Lu group. She'd agreed to let the Lu group take an equity stake. All the capital we'd invested plus interest had been converted into shares. The Lu group was now the Bai group's largest shareholder. I was dragging myself home to the villa after a long day when I saw her. Su Qingge was kneeling rigidly right at my front gate. When she saw me, she spoke up softly, almost timidly. A's, I frowned. This woman really was relentless. What do you want? She looked like she'd been through hell these past few days. Every inch of her radiated exhaustion and frailty. I know I was wrong. Forgive me. This time, I swear the Su family will be your strongest ally from now on. If you want to take over as head of the Lu family, we'll back you all the way. I said nothing. It wasn't that I wanted to spare the Su family. I just thought of a much better plan. I wasn't just going to make them give back every last benefit they'd taken. I was going to make Su Qingge fall completely, irreversibly. Please just spare the Su family. I'll never interfere in your affairs again. The Su family will be your strongest backer. And I know this is all my fault, but Bai Qingge isn't innocent either. She was the one who put Song Yanli up to getting close to me. I let out a cold laugh. I'd already guessed as much back at the bar. It was the only way to explain why Bai Qingge had shown up right when she did. Besides, did she really think my brother wouldn't look into it? I'd read the full investigation report ages ago. So you're saying Bai Qingge forced you to cheat on me? I could spare the Su family. But you're going to take care of Song Yanli first. Just looking at him makes me sick. Su Qingge hung her head and said nothing. But she was clearly thinking it over, weighing the ultimatum I'd just given her. Fine. Swear you'll spare the Su family and I'll take care of him. Permanently. She had no room to bargain anymore. As much as she hated it, she had to agree. That evening, when Bai Qingge came home, she saw that half smirk on my face. She gave a nervous little smile. Did Su Qingge come see you? It was obvious she was worried. There's something I need to be honest with you about. The Song Yanli thing. That was me. But I swear, all I did was introduce him to some contacts. I laughed and patted her hand. I know. Don't overthink it. Su Qingge was always going to cheat. If it wasn't him, it would have been someone else. Bai Qingge blinked, stunned. You're not mad at me? I smiled faintly. Of course not. We're not children. Marrying you maximizes the benefits for both of us, and I like you. Isn't that a good thing? Only kids put silly little love affairs first, right? Fiancé? The tension drained out of Bai Qingge's shoulders. Everything went smoothly after that. At my signal, the Bai group called off its attacks on the Su family for the time being. The Su family, knowing when they were beaten, ceded several projects on their own. As for Song Yanli, his days of running his mouth were over. He was about to learn the hard way just how hard it is to earn a rich woman's money. He'd just fled to a small coastal town to lie low when he got a call from Su Qinghe. Yanli, come back. I've talked everything over with Lu Zi. He promised he won't go after you anymore. Naturally, Song Yanli didn't believe her. He'd already learned firsthand just how ruthless Lu Zi could be. But he had no choice in the matter. Su Qingge purred soft, sweet words to him over the phone. Meanwhile, the bodyguards she'd sent had already tracked his location and were right outside his door. In the end, Song Yanli was dragged unwillingly into the car by the bodyguards. By the time they reached the highway, it was pitch black outside. A blaring horn shrieked out of nowhere and a truck loaded with steel pipes slammed into them, crumpling the car like tinfoil. The next day, before Su Qingge could even leave the house, several police officers showed up at her door. Miss Su, you'll need to come with us. Su Qingge was stunned. She couldn't figure out how the police had tracked it back to her so quickly, so precisely. A month later, Su Qingge was sentenced to death for orchestrating the car accident. The Su family hired the best lawyers money could buy, but it did no good. The crime was far too heinous. To make sure no one interfered, I'd even paid to push the story onto the trending list. Besides Song Yanli, 2 bodyguards and the driver had died too. 4 lives lost. The story blew up online. During that time, Bai Qingge and I went to visit her in prison. Through the bars, Su Qing's eyes were hollow with despair. Su Qinghe, I came to tell you something. Yesterday, the Su group officially declared bankruptcy. Your family took what little money was left and ran. Shame, really? They'd barely gotten off the plane when some robbers shot them dead. Silver lining though, you'll all be reunited soon enough. At my words, Su Qing completely lost her mind. She thrashed, trying to lunge at me even through the prison bars. But the guards quickly forced her back down into her seat. Lu Zi, you promised you'd spare the Su group. You went back on your word. I waved a hand, gesturing for her to be quiet. I didn't bring down the Sioux group. Bai Qingya did. I made you that promise. Bai Qingya didn't. That woman holds one hell of a grudge. There's nothing I can do about it. Alright. I came mainly to tell you about your family. That's all. See you never, dear Mrs. Liu. With that, I stood up. Right before I left, I added one more thing. Oh, and we're getting engaged on the day of your execution. Double celebration, isn't it? My cruel words must have gotten to her, because Su Qing'e flew into another frenzy. The guards had none of it. They snapped at her and forced her to settle down. As I turned to leave, her screams and curses followed me out. When I walked out of the prison, Bai Qingya was leaning against the car waiting for me. She smiled warmly and walked over to meet me. That was quick, huh? I shook my head with a smile and pulled her into my arms. This girl was getting more and more possessive. Come on. A month from now, when she's executed, we'll get engaged. A month later, on the day Su Qing'e was executed by lethal injection, I proposed to Bai Qingya. She wore a pure white wedding dress, as bright and beautiful as ever. Truth be told, Su Qing'e had walked right into my trap the second she agreed to get rid of Song Yanli. I'd had people watching her every move. The truck driver she'd secretly hired had terminal cancer. For 5 million yuan, he'd agreed to do anything she asked. Funny enough, I like to be charitable too. Right after Su Qing's people left, my assistant gave the driver 1 million yuan of his own. What happened after that was simple. Su Qing had paid in cash through a middleman. But it didn't matter. It was just business. There was no loyalty there. The driver turned on his employer without a second thought. The Sioux Group's own finance staff had helpfully kept thorough records of the 5 million yuan transaction. All the evidence pointed straight back to Su Qing'e. All they got in return was a job offer from the Liu Group. The second the accident happened, I handed all the evidence over to the families of the driver and bodyguards Su Qing had sent. Naturally, those families didn't sit on that evidence. It was only a matter of time before the police showed up at her door. As for what happened to the rest of the Su family, I can only say I'm terribly sorry to hear it. I had nothing to do with it. Though I have my suspicions. Let's just say Bai Qingya holds a grudge. You really don't want to get on her bad side. This story warns us that in any relationship, we should never take others' restraint and tolerance for weakness, nor cross the bottom line of loyalty and morality to indulge ourselves willfully. Relying on the security of her family-arranged marriage, the heroine Su Qing'e openly betrayed her part. Indulged in an affair to provoke boundaries, and even tried to coerce him through public opinion. In the end, she not only ruined her family business with her own hands, but also was imprisoned for her misdeeds, ending up with her family destroyed. Respect and mutual agreement lie at the heart of marriage. Even a business-based marriage has uncrossable boundaries. Arrogant, short-sighted indulgence and self-serving calculations will eventually backfire. We should stick to moral principles and hold a sense of awe, never mistaking the platform for personal ability or tolerance for something we are entitled to.